Welcome to the What Now podcast. This is Darryl Elliott, and I'm here with the family, Myneca Ojo, Regi McClurkin, and Archbishop Darel Chase. We're glad to come back to you again, and we are going to talk about the things that mean the most to you and I, what's going on, and what do we need to do about it next. But before we get started, we want to like, share, and subscribe to all of our channels here on Believe Broadcasting. And I want to thank you all, our listeners, our viewers, for watching, participating, asking about the next drop. All those things matter. Tell somebody, keep on telling somebody. We're building a little community, and we are appreciative of every action you do to help promote and to help distribute the podcast everywhere. Well, everybody, how you doing?
Hey, great.
I'm doing great.
It's a whole new world, y'all. We're living in the big BS bill era now. we are gonna bring up today. I want to start there. We've been talking about it for the past couple weeks. We gave a few charts and graphs last week, talking about what the effects of the bill would be, how things are going to be impacted, Medicare cuts, Medicaid, all the different programs that the people need. So we're not going to talk too long about it, but I think it is fair to talk about it today.
Yes.
Many of you are not going to feel the effects right away. Some things aren't designed to kick in until 2 years later. Surprise, surprise, midterms. And they're going to try and figure out how to hang this around Democrats' neck. But it doesn't sound like that's going to work because there has been good enough messaging around that this is the Republicans' work. Donald Trump is behind it. He pushed it openly. And so when hospitals close, when nursing homes close, when people can't get their health care, when SNAP benefits are going away, you name it, and your tax refund is $700 to $1,500 less than it was in prior years, we can all point to this moment in time. So, guys, I just want to let you guys get to chime in on this for a second, and then we'll move on to another topic, but it is worth talking about. So let me start with you, Archbishop. Any thoughts concerning the passage of this bill?
I think it is a crime against the American people that is being unleashed quite blatantly by Donald Trump and his MAGA Republicans.
Yes.
It is, when we look at what is going to transpire because of this, and the amount of lives that are going to be not just impacted, but severely impacted, it speaks volumes. We are supposed to be the most advanced country in the world, at least in our own minds.
Yeah, okay.
And I'm going to say this, and forgive me for being so blunt, but all I see is hatred.
That's all. That's it, Bishop.
I don't see the love, care, and nurture that we're supposed to have one for another as countrymen. When you have our neighbor to the north that provides free health care, when you have, let's go back to why they really killed Gaddafi is they had free health care. Let's go into Burkina Faso now. They have free health care. That's a small country. And it's not just about health care. It's about robbing people who do not need a certain level of economic prowess, stripping them of their little dignity that they have left.
Right.
So when you do that, you're going to create enemies from within.
Uh-huh.
And we you and we've already talked about this. All of us have talked about this. Is that when it actually hits the fan and it starts to actually impact people, you're going to see that it's going to impact the people that voted for him
Yes.
tremendously, and they're going to have to bite that bullet.
Mm-hmm.
And some of them, I'm coming to realize, are so stupid that they think that this hole that's being created is only a temporary hole.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
this bill does is it really sets the country up for a major depression, not a recession,
Mm-hmm.
but a
Yeah.
depression.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we are not mindful of that, we are not mindful of, the attacks, number one, on our humanity.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, number two, on our health, number three, on our education, so on and so forth. We've really got to wake up and smell the coffee and do what is necessary in order to ensure
Come on now. Yes.
that these things do not impact us negatively. Now,
Mm-hmm.
how do we do that? Well, you know, we started off this podcast months ago, and we talked about we need to start growing our own vegetables. Uh, we need to have, our churches that have certain amount of budget need to create their own banks.
Yes.
Uh, we need to start putting community back in mind rather than individuality,
Mm-hmm.
because that's the only way we're going to be able to weather this storm.
Yeah.
Only way.
So until we do that, uh, all I can say is that uh, this is a major step backwards,
Mm-hmm.
not forward. I don't see progression, forward momentum in this at all. All I see is a step backwards.
Right.
And it's meant to keep poor people even poorer than they already are and kowtow to rich.
Right.
Hmm.
That's all I have to say.
Right. Reggie.
Um, Bishop Chase, you know, Archbishop Chase, you really hit the nail on the head. All I see is, like I said, the underlying factor is hatred of everybody who is not of European descent and who does not look like the man who currently occupies the White House. And it just amazes me how people are so um, willing to follow somebody over a cliff, not realizing that this soon will visit their front door.
Yeah.
It's going to take, like you said, up until 2 years. But see, it's not really 2 years because the midterms will start, a year from now. Everybody's going to be starting to, all the political, you know, posturing again, and all the campaigns going to be kicking up in full gear because we're already halfway through 2025. So next year they'll be starting. But this is, I want to take it a step even further because alluding to the hatred factor, as being a believer of Jesus Christ and trying to live a righteous life, like I said, I'm at a point that I sing that song every day. It's me, oh Lord, standing in the need of prayer because I'm going through a thing that I just can't take this hatred. And a part of me, that little devil side, like you had the good and the evil, and that
Mhm.
evil side of me is always sitting back saying, like, I wish this could happen. I wish you don't want to wish nothing bad on nobody. But I saw something yesterday that just made me say, God, how long? How long will it be before? And I know, he's in charge. I know he has control of the whole world. But it's like, how much more can we, the people, take? Because the president, hosted Natan, what's his name? Ben, not how you say his name, Natan, from over Israel.
Netanyahu.
Not yeah, right, not you, yeah. He hosted him on Monday, and it shocked me because one of the things, conversations came up during that meeting and gathering of hosting him, not you. They were talking about the Kennedy assassination and how it was directly tied back and linked to Israel having a hand in that. And what was the most appalling part of that brings it all home, because they go to no, there's no low, there's no list that they don't go to show you just how hateful they are, because they did all of this discussing the Kennedy assassination. And right in the background was a picture of Jackie Onassis, you know, Jackie Kennedy. And I'm up there like, I have never in my life could not imagine and fathom this type of evil that has been, put forth upon not just our nation, but, the world. Because I still, like I said, getting ready to go back out of the country, I'm still traveling. And everywhere I go, the same thing is said by people. How did you all allow somebody like that, a convicted felon, to get into, the White House and be your leader? And it's all about the hatred. They hated Obama so much. And my head is just gonna explode, because even today, everything is still Biden's fault. Everything is still Obama's fault. But yet these people don't see that this man is systematically taking away everything that has been gained in the last 50 to 60 years. And the bad reality is we're going to still see the residual effects of this 20, 30 years from now with our grandchildren and great grandchildren. So, to bring it all home with this BS bill, I just don't know what it is about we as people, other than the fact that, they slip and tell you everything they're doing. Because the, white Caucasian population, they're becoming minorities. They're not having children. They're doing all these things trying to, entice, them to procreate, to, to get more of them, because they're becoming a minority. So everything that's being done right now, and I'm gonna sum it up by saying this: everything that's being done now is to try to, even as minorities becoming minorities, keep control and power of the whole nation, so that they still can do all the things they've done for 400 years. And that is rob, steal, kill, and do anything that's by any means necessary to keep their stronghold over this nation. And I'm saying in my daily prayers, God, we need to see a movement. We need to see some evidence that we know you're in charge, but that a change, like Sam Cooke said, a change is going to come. And until then, like I said, I just solicit each week that y'all pray for Reggie, because I be seeing these videos of ICE, but okay. But something has to happen, because we can't keep going like this. And to see how just egregious and how hateful, and it's getting worse every day. They're rounding up people. I mean, they're saying they're gonna lose over, $10 billion just from stopping the kids who are coming here from overseas just to study at our universities. So it's like we're waiting to see what God does, because I mean, I don't know, think we can take much more of it as a nation of people of color. And then on the other hand, to see the insults that are being meted out towards African Americans by Hispanics, Latinos, and the Mexicans, because we're not out there marching with them. But like you said, Bishop, they voted for this, so it is what it is. And I'm gonna just sit back, wait for God to move, and just enjoy my popcorn and a glass of wine, and wait to see how it all unfolds. Because we, just like the Roman Empire, we cannot maintain this. We are on the brink of collapsing and falling, just like the Roman Empire, and we'll see what happens.
You know, I did spend my weekend. I did do my little barbecuing. I told you I bought me a new patio set.
Yeah, that's right.
Uh, I might give me a little TV for outside, and I'm just going to. There's some things you can't stop, and even the Bible teaches you that. And we have to go through the cycle. And while I might as well enjoy a good barbecue and
You might as well.
some basketball games or whatever. Baseball
Right.
season's happening. I always have something to keep me occupied there, and just because we did our part in November, and that was rejected.
Yes.
So this is a here we are moment. Myneca.
Yeah. So, just quickly, because I think it's important to realize also that what's happening in America is also happening in Europe also,
All over.
and
Good,
and
good.
and so what we're seeing here is people that have had major powers that have colonized other nations or created other nations or even created other regions in other nations or in
Yeah,
other lands no longer have the power anymore because they opted not to support a system that allowed them to create value for all of mankind, but instead erred to the notion of greed, and I'm just going to
Yes.
take what I want. So
Yes.
if you recall, when they did the 40 acres and a mule thing, um,
Uh,
a lot of us believe the value is having the green, the
uh-huh.
money, instead of having the land.
The land.
Well,
right.
America has sold itself for the money. So
Yes.
they've sold us out for the technology. For the past 50 years, we've seen America take all our manufacturing overseas to develop all this and to take advantage of cheap labor. But what's happened is that once we've done that, we've created societies that now understands how we manufacture, and they also have the technology. So now we're going back to them because we no longer have the technology or the advancement or the people actually doing the work in this country, and we're actually taking their labor to from India and from places that really 40 years ago they were rural areas, farmland.
Exactly.
The Chinese,
Right.
they say it very strong. They said we were farmers 40 years ago.
Right.
And now look at what has happened. So thank you, America, for sending all your American companies over here because they don't feel they can compete by paying people a decent wage in this country. It's never been about paying people a decent wage in this country. It's about creating and maintaining sustainability.
Yes.
And so, so this short term mindset and this short term corporate takeover type stuff where we're going to come in, we'll go over to India and build a factory for for $5 billion, and then put hundreds of people to work for $2 and $3 an hour, and then make all these products and they resell it back to America. Well, now you're selling it back to America where you don't have a substantial economic base. So most of New York now is owned by China.
Yes.
Yes, most of California, all of the big buildings in DC, you can find plenty of apartments that are empty. You go into some of those multi-million dollar condos, they are empty.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
they are
definitely.
empty. You know why? Because not Americans that own it. We no longer own anything, and so
Right.
now these Asian countries that we have made wealthy by taking all of these jobs out of this country are now over there. And then you have people like Donald Trump, who, by the way, is licensing his name because I don't know how many buildings he really owns. We really don't know.
He owns a total of maybe 7 or 8.
Yes.
Everything else is a licensing deal.
Right.
It's a licensing deal. So they're opening up, they're using the licensing. He no longer owns, he doesn't have the real estate portfolio
No.
that he had
No.
that he had before. So then they're looking for other areas to conquer. The second part is that Americans, no matter how poor we are or what's going on in this country, we still have disposable income.
Yes.
And I'm
Yes.
gonna tell you, really, at the thing, and I hate to say this about our people in this country, all of us. This is
Mhm.
every American. As long as our lights are on, as long as the water is running,
Right.
as long as we
Right.
can go to the grocery store and get something off the shelf, we good. And we
We
got
good.
and we have a roof over our head and we can go to the movies here and there and go shopping at Target or Walmart or whatever, whether it's if I'm shopping with $20, 200, as long as I can do that, my life, substantial life has not changed. Until you see people not being
Right.
able to have electricity, until you see, like in many African countries, that they're turning those lights off, that you're going to have a blackout for 3 hours.
Yep.
So until you see that on a regular, or that you don't have running water, or that that you don't have the services that we'll talk about later. We'll talk about those, those things
Yep.
that people complain about and don't think about, and only 5% of the people are voting.
Mm-hmm.
Then you're going to have this. But what you see now is a scramble across the world, globally.
Yeah.
15% of the population, which is the European population, now trying to get back what they essentially gave away. We had an industry in Detroit, we had an auto industry that they just gave away.
Mm-hmm.
We had a technology industry like Texas Instruments and companies like that. Dell Computers, I'm going to put them in the same thing because I
Right.
was there in Austin when he started, and he
Mm-hmm.
did the manufacturing, then immediately went overseas, and now he's Dell Technology trying to diversify his products. He's still, he's a wealthy man. He's
Yeah.
the one wealthy man, but
Right.
the company is not as wealthy
Right.
as it used to be. So all
Now,
of this is on us.
now uh, the argument for manufacturing overseas has been that we have now evolved into a nation of services and financial instead of manufacturing, and that's been I'm sure you've heard that argument before, and they're saying that now we have moved past being a manufacturing nations. It's better to ship that over there to them while we evolve in our services and financial wherewithal and things like that. But it seems to be that that by giving so much of the manufacturing away,
Right.
uh, that we have lost uh, a basic a basic uh, economic pride. I would say is one, and also a certain stability because now we are dependent on these other nations. Am I saying that correct, y'all?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I never bought that we've evolved into a service industry, because the service industry is probably one of the lowest industries that pays.
Right.
People have made fortunes. People have sent their children to school on those career jobs with Ford and Chevy, all those companies in Detroit, all these major organizations. I mean, we've seen shifts in populations, especially in the Black community, where they have moved to the western part of California to be a part of the California Boom, or you've had family members, if you're in the central part of the country, southern part of the country, move to places like Nevada to help build and construct Las Vegas, or even during the industrialized movement, where people left the South to migrate up north to take those jobs in the industry because the jobs were so plentiful. Heck, that was one of the reasons why we had the Civil War, is
Right.
because we were turned into this industry. That's what makes this country. And what you do is you keep and you maintain your tradition. Once you lose that, money in your hand doesn't mean anything.
Right.
It's saying that money only serves the purpose of sustaining
Yes.
a culture. And so we no longer have that to service. My job on the telephone, I don't even have to worry about that. When I get on the phone, I'm not even talking to anyone in the United States when I'm calling
Exactly.
about my post, because now it's all done by
Just
Jakey in India,
right.
and it's and someone, and so we're being culturally competent because we're dealing with people who understand our culture, but we will be the first one to say, well, we don't understand what they're saying. We'll
Right.
get negative and everything, but what we're not really facing is that the fact that he's there and there's thousands of people that are there that have taken jobs away from this country. So the service industry, I do not believe this country has evolved into a place where we believe that we just need to be serviced by everyone. If we don't own something and take advantage of owning it, it's a totally different story. Now, that's one thing I will say
Mhm.
Donald Trump was right on, is that the industry, but he doesn't have a solution because I don't know how he was in business.
Right.
He doesn't
And he
mindset.
wasn't,
Just
and
fully.
even at his height, he wasn't one of the leading real estate developers in New York. That's what was always said about him. He was the best marketer, but he could market himself and create an image. But as far as a real New York mogul and baller in real estate, he was low on the totem pole.
Yeah.
Right.
And somebody forgive me for saying totem pole. I think that's not a good term nowadays. I'm not sure, but but
You can
sticking
say
with you,
flagpole.
there you go.
You know, one of the things, and Madam Mayor, I agree with you 100%. But there's something we went from a nation of being producers
Producers.
There you
Yeah.
go.
Yeah,
to a nation of being consumers.
Homers.
consumer.
Here's one of the things that when we talk about sustainability, the United States of America cannot even currently feed itself.
Exactly.
Our food production has almost bottomed out. We're into genetically modified things because we keep giving all of our stuff away to the highest bidder with the biggest appetite. Now, any of our good produce is coming from uh, outside of the country that we actually consume.
Right.
So here we are, a nation that cannot feed itself, cannot sustain itself. And that's
Hmm.
the bottom line.
You're
We
right.
can we don't have the cattle production. In fact, other countries will not even take our cattle. Other countries, especially in Europe,
They won't.
Oh,
who's probably our biggest trade partners, uh, they won't take our pork, our chicken, our
yeah.
beef. They won't take our cereal products.
Hmm.
Okay, and there's a reason for that. So we have to look at the monster that was created. Okay, called the U.S. government with all these little trickle down things like the FDA and so on and so forth, who said, "Oh yeah, go ahead and kill our people." Okay. Oh yeah, go ahead and take the,
The
give
leniency.
give those cattle all of these hormones and
Well, it's less
antibiotics and
regulation
so on and
now.
so forth.
Now,
It
now
is. Yes, you're right on the money there.
Right.
Yeah. So we've got to understand that as a people, let's not talk about being a part of a bigger conglomerate, but I'm talking about specifically us. We have to learn how to sustain ourselves, because
Amen.
that's the priority. The priority isn't how we help everybody else. You can't help anybody else unless you help yourself first.
right.
Exactly.
Okay. So how are we going to help us? When are we going to produce our own food? When are we going to feed our own communities? Okay, and when are we going to establish our own economic base? Because every dollar that comes into our communities never even goes around once because it goes outside the
Goes
community
right back
before
out.
it gets
And
anywhere else.
and we're
How is
not
there any?
supporting farmers.
Yeah,
We're
you
not
know,
supporting them.
we're not supporting them. Look at how many black farmers in the past 5, 6 years, 8 years have lost
Yes.
their
80%, 80%
farms
of
because
farmland.
they pulled their subsidies away from them. Number one. Number two is, you know, uh, there was no support from our community. We're like, oh well, and we got content. We got complacent in mediocrity, and so here's the thing: amazing things are done by amazing people.
Yes.
And what we need to do at this point in time is prove to the world once again that we are amazing. We don't need anybody's permission to do
All
so.
right. All right.
Okay. Because as far as I'm concerned, when you told me life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, once you infringe upon that, that means that I have the right to defend myself, my life, my liberty, and my pursuit of happiness. So, we want to talk about the laws of the land and all that. Listen, let's talk about the law of self. The law of
All
self is me, mine, my.
right.
Okay? Me, my people, and mine, what we own collectively. Okay? And until we get that mentality, because they have it, they're helping each other out. They're helping each other out to kill us, to make sure that we are set back because they didn't like the progression that we've made.
That's why he won the election, because
Well, that's why he
Exactly.
won.
they
That's
are
precisely why he won. That was a great
Exactly.
argument.
Exactly.
Mhm.
We need to
They catching
prove
up with us.
once again that we are amazing. We are the people of God.
That's it.
He's not going to leave us nor forsake us.
But
And until
exactly.
we get our act together,
Mm-hmm.
okay, and return to him and say, hey, listen, I'm going to tell you what, Lord, yes, we have sinned in
With
thought,
it.
word, and deed. Okay.
That's
But here we are. Help us. Do not let our enemies overtake us.
right.
But we're not thinking about that. We're just saying, oh, it's the political this, that. No, 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 no.
It's not
No, no, no.
politics.
Your
Yeah,
mindset creates the politics. We
that's right.
need to have our own dynamics, okay, that are going to sustain us. And until we do that, we're going to suffer with the
Yes.
monstrosity that they've made
Mhm.
because we think we're a part of it. We have the illusion of inclusion. We're
Yeah.
not part of that.
Well, you
Yeah.
know what? That
Yeah.
someone came on TikTok just the other day, Auntie. I think I posted on Facebook too. It was a video. It's like, we're black folks, so we've been we've been doing with y'all a long time. If we are born in this country, a multi-generational thing. I'm not
Right.
talking about people who just came to this country and began to
Right.
realize it, but if you've been here for hundreds of years, or you have generationally have been in this country, you will know that that racism exists, and there's
Mhm.
always ways to try to hold you back. And we've always been able to come around this. My concern is right now is that the majority of the people, which are white people, are not really feeling the brunt of what's going on right now. And
Yeah.
they
Yes.
are the ones
Yeah.
that are going to be impacted the most by
Yeah.
this, because I
Right.
know how to go in here and put a pot of beans on and eat all
Yeah.
week. Yeah. So, we grew up in those type of environments.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
if many of them don't have the grandparents or the great grandparents that lived through the Depression, they won't know how to buckle down,
Exactly.
to get there. So the bigger you are in terms of your mindset, and in terms of where you think you are status wise in this country, the harder you're going to fall.
Harder.
Many
Exactly.
of us are like, we're like, yeah, we're not spending. We're,
We know this
already changed our spending
Right.
habits. We've
Yeah.
changed I've changed my associations with people.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a lot of things that you just really have to do when you see the dynamics that are going on in this country, and this is not good, folks. It's not good at all. What's going
Well,
on?
well, let me shift us right on there because we said that we're going to bring up this topic, and what you're saying is a good segue into that because just recently, and Coulter made some comments, and I'm gonna throw it back to you, Myneca, about that. Can you give a little context of it? She says something about that they did not kill enough Indians. You want to jump on that one right there?
So, um, so I'm gonna jump on it. I don't really know honestly the context of it, but she
Hmm.
tweeted out, "We didn't kill enough Indians," and it was retweeted 2 million times
Mm.
on
Wow.
X, which is on Twitter, which is very concerning to me because if you go back to the last episode, I've been talking the last couple of episodes about these LinkedIn comments I'm seeing on the business side
Uh-huh.
of people that are really, I guess they're more right wing, and I'm not going to even say political at this point. These are like
Hmm.
radical people that are
Right.
supporting all of the things that are happening, those illegal aliens
Hmm.
and this, that, and the others, if these people are doing something to us. But, to go back to we didn't kill enough Indians, and, here's a white woman in society,
Oh.
and I will talk more specifically about culture and how culture is passed down.
Right.
So the last couple of days, I've heard a couple of things from two women, who are typically moms, and they pass down the culture that has been very concerning to me. And the one was Ann Coulter's statement, and then that being retweeted 2 million times. Like, who follows her and retweets something 2 million times? Even
Mm.
if her 200,000 times, it would be a lot. But retweeted 2 million times, and you're barely hearing about that. But the
Right.
second is the USDA secretary. I want to say her last name is Robbins, coming out with a very insensitive statement regarding the Medicaid. The fact that 34 million people are going to be kicked off of Medicaid, and
Hmm.
then they asked her, USDA, because they were referring to agriculture and the lack of workers to work in agriculture. And her statement was, "Well, we got 34 million able-bodied people," which we know that's not true.
We know
34
that.
million able-bodied people
Right.
that can go into the fields and work. Well, we know the bulk of people that are on Medicaid are the working poor, okay? Or they may be someone that recently lost their job, because if I didn't have health insurance and I lost my job, I'd immediately qualify for health care to continue my
Exactly.
medications, continue my visits, and so on and so forth. So these are not people that are gaming the system. These are these are safeguards that we have in place to protect people, because either any one of us could walk out this door today and have a traumatic brain injury and automatically be taken out of the opportunity to work
All that.
or anything. We're all one paycheck or two
Right.
paychecks away from homelessness. And the majority of people are at that point. And if they don't want to admit it, they're lying.
They're
They
like,
they don't.
Well,
The
don't don't forget. Joni Ernst said we're all gonna die. Remember, she
oh
Oh,
said
yeah.
and
that.
then the third one that said this. So, this coming from women, especially white women, because I think sometimes a lot of our focus in terms of racism always goes toward the men. The men make the policies and everything, but the one that carries the culture in all societies are the women. The
Oh, the
women
way.
are at home with the children. They carry the
Right.
language. They carry the culture. They also provide children with the basic assumptions and needs, like the fear, what to fear, what to do, and what not
Right.
to do. That's all done by the women in our cultures. So women have to really stand, particularly white women at this point, have to stand up, and they are going to have to, train their children differently so that their children will be able to survive in a society like this one, because you cannot continue to to train your children to believe that they're
Right.
superior to other groups of people. And we always want to say, and many people in diversity, equity, and inclusion say, well, the new generation will change it. The fact is, the newer generation of people are actually probably less tolerant than the ones previously. So what
Mm.
we're seeing
Right.
is that
Right.
people are carrying culture on, and those basic assumptions and fears that they have of other people is really to uphold white supremacy in this society. And let me tell you, 15 years ago, I wouldn't have been having this conversation mainly on this. People are everything, but it's so important now that we're looking at what white supremacy is doing to our society in
Yes.
terms of keeping
Yes.
us back, and what it's doing to us economically, and in their quest to try to promote white supremacy. What we're losing out on is our ability to compete globally in a global and a worldwide economy, and our people don't have jobs. That's the reason why we are on the down low, still bringing migrant workers over here.
Right.
And no, the USDA secretary also said automation is important too. Well, who's going to be making all the automation equipment?
Well, see,
Right
what's
there, they're almost out the door.
mhm.
They're going to file for bankruptcy. So who's going to make all this equipment?
Well,
Let's
another
see.
thing is we gotta look at the major inroads so far as industrial technology were mostly developed by us.
Yes.
How to make things easier
Yeah,
for workers so that we can produce more.
Exactly.
right.
Okay,
And
that
now,
was another major thing. That was another major takeaway. So now they don't want us to mastermind how to make this thing work because we've always been the ones who made it work.
Always. Always.
Period.
Hmm.
And they knew that. So now they're saying, well, we can go over to China, this, that, and the other thing, blah 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 blah, and we don't need them anymore. Yes, you do. You they need us more than we need them.
Yes.
But see, the whole thing is what we have to learn how to do is we have to learn how to make ourselves unavailable to
Thank
that
you.
to their nonsense.
Mhm.
We need to focus on us and make ourselves unavailable to them. We say we can't because we're all a part of this.
Mhm.
That's not true. And unless and until you have the exact same rights, privileges, and so on that everybody else that doesn't look like you has,
Mhm.
you're not part of it. You're, you they may allow you to do some things, but see, when we did not take the bull by the horn back in the late 1960s and early 1970s and keep the pressure
Mhm.
on and say, hey, listen, we're not going this way. And we kept taking those little placebos.
Yes.
Okay. We damaged our community. Then they had an idea. Well, let's take the fathers out of the household.
Yes. Oh, come on, Bishop. Come on.
Let's pit the black woman against the black man. Let's elevate her and reduce him even more.
That's
Okay.
it.
And so here we are with this struggle within our own community and not realizing this was all orchestrated by our enemy.
All of it was open by our oppressors, the very ones who
Once
oppress.
an enemy is identified, you, me, all of us are duty bound to eradicate that enemy.
Absolute by any
That
means.
is a rule of warfare.
Yes.
Spiritual warfare, whatever, I have to get that out of here.
Mm-hmm.
Period. And
Period.
what we did was, like I said, we tried to play their game by their rule. No, 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 no. No.
I
If
learned a
we're
long
going to be a people of faith, if we're going to stay, whether it be Christianity, Islam, whatever it is, and we say that we are the people of God, and we diminish the power there is because God is in us.
Yes,
And
yes, yes.
until they recognize the God in us,
Mm-hmm.
and we don't recognize it, if we don't recognize it, we're in trouble. We're going to keep playing these games with our enemy.
Don't you think though?
Yes, sir.
Don't you think that we are now in a place? Actually, one of my childhood friends went and posted a video just yesterday, and the store basically took about $700 of his money. He wanted to get his money back. I guess it wasn't the right thing. So he had a confrontation with the manager on the phone. While they called up the supervisor on the phone, and then I guess it escalated to whatever degree. They started treating him bad. Then they called the police on him. So
Ah.
he went video, and he handled it only in the way those of us from Baltimore do know how to handle these situations. Uh, he got to the point. He said, he has everything on video, and they wanted to see the video. And he told the police, "I'm not going to help you in your investigation because he's not going to allow them to twist whatever he had." And
Right.
then it got to a point where he asked, "Am I detained? Did I commit a crime?" And they told him no. He said, "Am I free to go?" They said yes because they was trying to talk to him, but they couldn't do anything. And as he was walking down the strip mall, and mind you, these are some other, and he's in a red state, rural red state, and he gets to one of the other stores where the other proprietors or people down the strip, they were basically kind of on his side, and they were kind of trying to keep him calm, and they were white. But the guy down there started yelling and cussing at him
Ah.
with the police there, and then told him he's going to end up turning up dead. And then he yelled, he said, "Are you threatening me?" And he yelled at the cops, are you hearing what this man is going to say? And then he yelled, "I am going to press charges." Because we are trained from Baltimore, just to let you know.
The question is, did they take the complaint? Did they arrest the person?
I think, well, he turned the video off. I sent him a message, told him what to do. He said that's exactly what he's going to do. I said, because if he's not getting any activity right there or response from those cops there, go to the station and file an official complaint or whatever. And I said all that. I brought that up to say this, is that we have the skills and the tools to confront and to deal with things. We may not have the military. The one thing we don't have is the military that we control. But as we study governments around the world, you don't need to have a military to shake the nation and to deal with oppressive powers. Now, because we've never had a perfect system, of course, and we've had a system that has been oppressive to people of color. But we're now cranking up the heat here from this administration. So the concern right now, or the thing that what I'm saying is, don't you think that we are at a place now that we are capable of dealing with these issues? This is the What Now podcast. Reminding everybody out there, this is the What Now podcast. This is not the What Happened podcast. This is the What Now podcast. So my call or my question is, don't you think we currently have the tools, and we have now generations that are emerging that are not going to tolerate the injustice in the same manner? Because our forefathers and foremothers, they laid the groundwork for us, and they went through things so that we would not have to go through them. And they tolerated certain things because they had to, because there was not the laws were not in place. But they fought and got the laws, got the foundational principles, got the rulings that even if they want to ignore them, they are now on the record. And we have videotape, we have all the foundation. So we can have the right to say, I'm not my grandfather.
Well, you know, one of the first things is you said something very,
I can write Bishop or Myneca, Regi.
you said something very important that I want to piggyback on, because I think we do. You said we don't have the military. We do. They just don't know that they are our military. They are the young people. They are the ones who are fighting against each other in our neighborhoods because they have yet to identify their true enemy.
Mm-hmm.
Reason being is because the lack of true leadership in communities is unbelievable.
That's
You
coming.
know, we like to take, and I'm going to be honest with you,
Conversation.
we like to break, you know, in our neighborhoods, in our communities, we like to take preachers who are on the take and
Yes.
elevate them to leadership, but they're not going out there. They're not getting any battle scars. They're not doing anything but a whole bunch of talk. Here's the thing. You cannot talk the talk until and unless you're willing to walk the walk. And if you cannot do that, that means that you need to sit your raggedy behind.
Yes. Thank you. Say it, Bishop.
Our youth need leadership.
Mhm.
And the reason why our neighborhoods are the way they are is because there is a lack of leadership. There is a lack of parenting. There is a lack of unity. And that started 50, 60 years ago. Up
Right.
until then, we had very tight knit communities, so on and so forth. And if we don't start paying attention, okay, because our enemy is the one who put crack cocaine in
Yeah.
our neighborhoods. Our enemy
Mm.
is the one who's actually putting the fentanyl
Yes.
in
we
our
want to
neighborhood.
talk about fentanyl. That's
Okay,
Right.
that's
so
brand new.
we've got to start paying attention. We
Yeah.
got to wake up and smell the coffee, and we've got to learn. We've got to learn. Hey, you want to know something? If when we train up a child in the way they should go, when they're old, they're not going to uh,
De-
uh,
Depart.
Depart
Depart
from.
from.
they're not going to depart from it. I'm sorry, I had a senior moment, but but the thing is, we've got to train our children to be defenders of truth
Yes.
rather than defenders of blocks.
Let me throw Reggie in on this one. Reggie, I know you've been you sweating over there. What's going on, man?
Man, I'm telling you. I mean, this is where the rubber meets the road. Because at the end of the day, and Bishop said it so elegantly, we keep putting these people in leadership roles. Like I've said that at all the conferences I do, I always make a little opening statement that the church is the only entity in the world. Like I said, we allow people to be in positions they're not qualified to hold and or be in, and we allow them to stay there until they're beyond their expiration date.
I will say it's not the only industry, but go ahead.
No,
We can look at the Congress for that one.
Lord.
I can name plenty. I've been in
the church is not the only industry, but the church is the place that has so much influence
it
on
used to.
people. So that's the perspective I'm bringing it from. Because at the end of the day, it just saddens me. And like I said, just like that little boy we were talking about, Darryl, earlier, who stood up, they forced him up there. He says, I just hate the church people.
Right.
At a point that we're willing to follow the leader, even though we know the leader is wrong. And then, look, we've gone full circle to see people who are in such high, lofty positions willing to blatantly lie before their congregations And Archbishop, you know about, you see this in your walks. I mean, they will tell us anything because they are getting their palms greased. They're getting their pockets fattened with measly, palsy little, you know, fees. I mean, it's not like they're getting anything substantial that can sustain them. So I'm just so disappointed. I'm not gonna say angry or upset. I'm just so disappointed that here we are, all of those great leaders, and I could just ramble off so many great pastors who have passed on and gone, and now to see what we have that's leading our leading denominational hierarchy, whether they, like I said, whatever denomination you're in, and convention or conference and all that type of thing. But at the end of the day, we the people, you said it, Bishop Darrell, you said it, and Myneca, you touched on it as well. Unless we the people, like the scripture said, who are called by his name, will humble ourselves, pray, seek his face, and turn from the wicked ways, we're not going to hear from heaven until we do what we're supposed to do. It is such an easy um, formula. It is such an easy equation to follow. But here we are, instead of trying to do what we know is right, we keep allowing our oppressors, we afford them the privilege to give us more of the same okie doke. But thanks be to God, and I have to say it just like that, because Bishop, you just touched on that. We got that younger generation, you too, Darrell. We got that younger generation out here now. We're not our grandfather, and we're not standing for it. And the thing that I'm more proud of than anything else, those young men will tell you, I talk to so many of them every week and all the time in my travels. They will tell you, I don't expect to live beyond 30 or 40 anyway. So I'm willing to lay down my life for this. They're not going to let these people tell them, if you're black, get back. They're not going to let the people tell you, even though the law is on the book, we're not going to let you, abide by that. These kids are saying what Malcolm said, by any means necessary. And you got the crew, like I said, the not messing around crew, putting it lightly and stuff like that. And their Colonel Jack, the one ex-military. So we do have a military, and then take it even a step further. I just saw a wonderful clip last week one day with Louis Farrakhan. And like I said, you don't have to be a member of the Nation of Islam and Fruit of the Islam and all that kind of stuff. But he made a statement that I said, I just love the fact of his boldness. He made it plain. He says, I've made it plain to Trump and everybody else. You come if you want. Send your people here to infiltrate us. Send your people here to spy on you. He says, but you try something with us, we will kill you. He says, and that goes out to anybody. Yes, we will kill you. And have any of you all noticed in the last 30, 40 years, since the Honorable Elijah Muhammad died, you have not seen one time that they've gone after Louis Farrakhan, because he lets you know, he said, like, we have an army. We will, and those guys, on his word, he can activate them with a moment's notice. So that's what's happening. In Chicago, you do not have nowhere within like a 5-mile radius of where Nation of Islam, their headquarters and all that. You don't have no white cops willing to go into their territory and beat up on no black person. I saw a video where the cop was just beating a woman. He beat this woman, knocked her on the ground, and she riding a bicycle, all because he says she rode across the line on a bicycle. So at the end of the day, that's where we're heading. There's a war going on. And like I said, the only thing I'm hoping and praying that our younger brothers would stop all this killing each other. And like the old saying, let us turn to each other and not on each other. Because while we're out here killing another brother, they're up in the woods every week teaching their little 10, 12-year-old kids how to, use their assault rifles instead of
telling them to get the rest of the Indians that their ancestors didn't get. That's
Yeah.
They left off. Pick up where they left off. Because the day of, like I said, willingly taking the stuff from the oppressors, yeah, you always will have those fearful, frightful Negroes and stuff like that. And I'm saying it just like that, who will still acquiesce to massa. But thank goodness we got some kids in their teens and 20s now who are saying, like I said, I'll lay down my life for it because it's not going to matter one way or the other. And that's the only thing they do. They know. And what's the other guy? Because he was did a broadcast. He's a Muslim, but he's not affiliated with the Nation of Islam. But he was talking. I saw his video the other day, and because they was calling black people savages. And man, he led into them. He said, "What's more savage than you coming over here, allegedly having a treaty with the Indians and turning around and slaughtering more than 5 million of them? What's more savage than you actually bringing your 5, 6, 7, 8-year-old white kids out there to show them lynching black people and things like that? How dare you call black African Americans savages when their whole nature from the beginning of time has always been savagery, to come in and try to take what's not theirs and then take ownership of it and then claim it to be an idea of their own." So
Right.
like I said, I can't wait. The revolution is here, and I just can't wait because, like I said, the time is coming now that it's going to have to be some bloodshed. I'm not advocating violence, but at the end of the day, it's no turning back at this point. There's no turning back.
No, and I think though we just to put a button on all of it is that we know that times are different. Times have changed. The generation has changed.
I don't think they've changed that much.
Well, there's a point to be made there for sure.
Our generation has changed a lot, but us as people, we haven't evolved in the last 200 years. Really, I mean, we've really 600-700 years. We just haven't evolved. A lot of things that's going on with our culture, and I do want to say this mostly is that we have become Americanized. Yeah,
Yes.
we don't have that connection to the
That's a good
collectiveness
point.
of the culture of Africa. We don't have the historical context, and because we become so individualized, we become just like them. We want the same thing they want.
Yeah.
We have, you see what I'm saying? We want the exact same thing. I have to have the house here. I have to have this here. This neighborhood, their water is colder.
Yes, the
than
ice is
ours.
yeah.
Yeah. So, but that's a part of being a part of American society. And when you're generation upon generation upon generation, you begin to want what the masses want and what they expect and what they value, and value less what we have. That's where the church came in. And the church was really successful in maintaining and keeping the community together and keeping us together. But once we start moving away from the church and moving away from communities we're now fully integrated, we now become a part of communities where we're in communities that really don't want us in their churches.
Exactly.
We just decided not to go back at all because it's not serving our purpose, or because we're working all the time and just need the rest. Whatever the argument is right now, I totally agree with you. Once we got away from the church, it took away from a lot of what's going on, and
it was our central place. It was our central place.
Right. Exactly. It was something that we could centralize and get to, and those that are really connected to the church, they still value and they still have a lot of support, but they don't have the support because even in the churches, they're always the ministries aren't supported. We aren't helping each other. We're not giving back to church. Our plumbers are not going in and helping fix the plumbing in the basement. When there's a leak, we're still relying on, what little money we're tithing. They're supposed to pay tens of thousands of dollars, to do this. And you don't think you have a relationship with it.
One day, and this is to that point, one day I will share the numbers difference between a black church's financial base and a white church's financial base. It is night and day, people. So I know we've been talking about some of the shortcomings of the black church, but this, just to keep it a buck, the financial wherewithal within the black church is microscopic compared to the kind of money that goes through your white mega churches and combined conferences, political influence, and all of those things combined, and then we're going to really see, once we see that number, we're going to understand that we got a long way to go.
A long way.
I mean, we can even look
If
at
you
the
want to
major
compare, we're
denominations.
10% of the population.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can't have as much as them. They've
Yeah.
been in the game a long time.
Yes.
We can even look
Yeah.
at the major denominations and see that they're long standing.
Right.
When I say major denominations, I'm talking about those. And the reason why they're long standing is because they've learned how to invest in their future.
In your
Right.
future.
They
They're not
do.
within, they don't care if they lose a building here, a building there. That's nothing to them.
Right.
You know, back in the 70s and 80s, up until recently, both the Episcopal Church and the Catholic Church were practically giving buildings away for
Right.
next to nothing because that didn't make or break them.
Right.
Okay,
The
and
down-
trust me,
Everything. Yeah.
the Lutherans, the United Methodists, the
Southern Baptists.
Episcopalians, you know, they're not hurting. The Southern Baptists, especially,
Right.
they're not hurting for any money.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They can buy and sell all day and
Yeah.
not even blink an eye. The problem we have is our churches have hand to mouth mentality.
Thank you. Woo.
And because we have hand to mouth mentality, we don't look to our future. We talk about, oh, we got to do this for our children and all that. Don't talk about it. Be about it. What are you investing
Be
in?
about it. Be about it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You know, let's look at even cryptocurrency. Okay,
Right.
cryptocurrency is on the rise on several different cryptocurrencies. Okay, and why not invest in it?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I know people that make their entire living
Mm-hmm.
off of investing in crypto.
Crypto.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
They don't know anything about, the Dow Jones, this, that, and but if you ask them about Bitcoin or
Right.
Ethereum or something like that, they're going to tell you.
That's right.
You know,
That's
and so here's an opportunity for us to understand that we can and we need to invest in ourselves. Invest in ourselves so far as land acquisition,
right.
okay, and stocks in commodities that
Yes.
everyday people are using left and right.
Exactly.
Right.
Sugar,
That's
water, corn,
That's right.
wheat product. We don't have to own a specific brand, just own the commodity.
The commodity. Exactly.
Okay, and that is where communications, cyber tech,
Yes.
but we're not doing that.
But the thing is that we have to understand. I think the next thing for Black America in particular is that we are going to find a way. We're going to learn how to leverage our culture, our cultural genius, our basic genius because Black people are becoming more and more aware that we need to get better at the business of things. So, being an artist, we remember when no one owned their masters,
Exactly.
Then we got over being able to own your masters. Then we're learning, okay, you can own your publishing. And we learned that now we're at the Black athlete. Lamar Jackson doesn't have an agent. He negotiated his own contract, him and his mom. And Jalen Hurts has an all-female, team that manages him, and we are becoming more aware of our need to marry our culture to our ability to do business and to retain our assets, our wealth. But it's a process. I think it is a process. Me being both in technology and banking, the two places where you don't see black people, not very many. Trust me, I'm there all the time, and I'm here to report to you: there's not many of us there in the room, but
Exactly.
but you have companies like mine that are known around the world across the industry. Uh, but this is because I've been here for 30 years. I've been in the way for 30 years. And
Right.
and there was struggles I had to go through that the next generation, can kind of come behind, and hopefully they can slingshot past what I've done. Um,
Oh,
and and that's weird. I like how Fred Price put it when he described playing Monopoly.
oh yeah.
Everybody got to start with $200, and he got to start with 10 or whatever it was, or
Right.
$20. And
Exactly.
by the time they went around the board a few times, he's out the game. And he tried to explain that's Black America, everybody.
That's
That
America.
we didn't start with the same capital you all started with, and you got a head start on the board. So what do you
Exactly.
think is going to happen? So we're coming into a phase where we are just trying to catch up on the board, and I do, in dealing with enough young people, see that they are inspired. They just need more leadership. To your point, Bishop, they need more leadership from those who have been through the fire. And let me encourage. Let me talk to you, America, for a second. Let me encourage the older generation. Let's
Yeah.
stop saying that I got mine and you got yours to get. Let's stop.
Yeah. Right. Exactly.
Let's stop that. That's not how this works.
Right.
You're gonna only have perpetual poverty. No,
Exactly.
is I got mine. Here it is. Take it and run with it. That's what we should learn how to do. We and yes, some of them are gonna fall on their face. Some of them may totally mess up.
Right.
But if we don't do enough of that, we will not see the growth we're supposed to see. I know too many legacy families that are white that
Mhm.
are living off of interest now. They're not even living off of the principal.
Yes. Yes.
They're living off of interest. The principal just continues to grow.
Exactly.
Generational farms, generational homes, and communities. We have to stop saying, I got mine, you have yours to get. No, I said in these in these later years of my life, I am living it for those who come behind me. And I say that over and over again. I had a great life. Thank you. Thank you, God. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, God. And thank you, America. Okay. Thank you, world. I've had a good life. But now, this part of life, for those of us who are 50 and over, we should start working for those who are coming behind us, because the victory has to be a multi-generational battle won. And and it took us generations to be in this hole. It's going to take generations to come out of the hole. But and one little biblical point: God never allowed for perpetual oppression by any people. So just put a pin in that one, y'all. No one was allowed to rule anybody but for so long. So I'm gonna jump the track now, guys. We're gonna come back on the other side, and we're gonna talk about the floods in Texas and the the Philadelphia garbage trash collector strike. A lot to talk about there, because we want to see, is your government working for you? We'll be right back after this message.
Introducing our Small Business Make More Save More package from Payments Factory. Increase your business revenue by offering your customers more options of when and how to pay. Surveys show that 35% of small business customers are interested in paying by text to their phone. That number almost doubles to 62% of people under the age of 35 who prefer to pay by text message. Our Make More Save More package allows you to send payment requests to your customers via text message and email, all while eliminating complex credit card processing fees with this simplified program. In addition, you have access to next-day funding, real-time reporting of all transactions and payments, and 24/7 access to your online merchant portal and statements. Our free terminal program is available to merchants that meet certain qualifications and would like to take in-person payments via chip cards and contactless payments, such as Google Pay and Apple Pay. Act now to also receive a $25 dining certificate redeemable for 6 months worth of digital savings coupons at your favorite chain restaurants, or $25 certificate to visit and support a local favorite restaurant. Speak to a representative today to see how Payments Factory can help you increase your bottom line. Schedule an appointment to learn more about this program and how we can help your small business to make more and save more today.
Payments Factory is a subsidiary of Diadem Technologies. Our payments experts are glad to help you and assist you in whatever your payment needs are. Make sure you give us a shout out, give us a call, and we'll help you be able to make more, save more with your business. Well, guys, got a lot going on in the sphere of government and government management.
Mm-hmm.
So first, we know and we do send our hearts out and prayers out to those who have been affected by the flooding in Texas in particular.
Mm-hmm.
I just saw a viral clip of a house going down the river in Mexico.
Wow.
So we understand there ain't nothing you can do with water, baby. There's nothing you can do with water. When water decides it wants to move,
Exactly.
there's nothing you can do about it. But we talked at the top of this podcast today. We talked about the new bill, and if you've noticed, we have not hardly heard the word FEMA now.
FEMA.
And let's also make mention and highlight the fact that these disasters are hitting red states.
Yeah.
And we said that these policies are going to find their way hurting people who voted for Trump more than those who did not vote for Trump. It's not to say that it's not going to affect people who didn't vote, because that's not the case. It is going to affect people who did not vote for him, but we're going to see dramatic things happen to those who voted for him, and now he has torn down the infrastructure that would help them, everything from healthcare to disaster relief. And now we just started the Trump train show, and we're already here 5 minutes in, and we have hundreds of people, or what, I don't know what the latest toll was. It was 100 something, but a whole Camp Mystic, which did not even have sirens. Thank you, Governor Abbott. And I said to you all offline before we came on, we've had sirens in use since World War I. So I don't know. I'm a technology person. I do a lot of complex technology, and last time I checked, a siren is not complex technology.
Exactly.
And I will also, and I wish I pulled the clip, but I will paraphrase it. A weatherman in Florida went on and said, "I am sorry, I cannot accurately predict the weather or tell you how these storms will move like I did in the past, because the government has gutted the National Weather Service, which provides us the data and information we need that we bring to you, and now we don't have those resources available." And just to add context, I want to give the numbers. There was approximately 570 something people who served in the National Weather Service who were laid off. So you have a torn down National Weather Service. You don't have basic implementation of warning systems,
Mm-hmm.
and you have a determined president and governor that will make sure they want to make their point at the expense of the people they're supposed to serve. So therefore, and hey, Texas, I love you, but I'm not moving down there because I saw what happened when the lights went out. I saw what happened when the cold came. Okay, I'll visit you guys.
Your Texas
right? With as dry as it's going to be. That's when I'm showing up. As dry, somewhere moderate temperatures, and I'll see you guys. And I'm getting out of there because I cannot trust this administration the administration in Texas, along with this president, to have my basic safety covered. Guys, I'm tossing it to you. I may need to give it to our resident Southwesterner first, Myneca.
I gotta take it. I'm jumping at the bit on this one.
I figured you were, so I'm just gonna give you a nice big fat frame, and I'm gonna let you cook.
yeah. A couple of things I'm gonna jump on right now is that Texas has been Republican for at least 25 years, and there's several ways they're doing it. Number one, on the state level. So it's very important because, whomever you get on the state level makes the decisions. I'm going to go back to ERCOT, Texas ERCOT, because in Texas, they have their own grid. And and that's the reason why they had the major brown and blackout in Texas, because they had their own grid and they weren't connected. They chose not to connect with any of the grids. I used to work with the Public Utility Commission just briefly as an investigator, supervised over investigations. And so they did not connect to the grid. But it's interesting enough, the same guy that was over ERCOT at the time was my supervisor when I worked with the Public Utility Commission.
Oh, okay.
So it's kind of interesting. So because of the fact that they've had the continuum of Republicans being in office, they've continued to do business as usual. And remember, the last 20, 25 years, Texas hasn't had all these rainstorms. I mean, I believe 19 to 21 years I was in Texas, we were under a major drought. So we didn't see these storms. I think we had 2 snowstorms in the whole 21 years that I lived in Texas. Politically, congressional, the way they've been able to gerrymander once they did get control after Ann Richards left office, George Bush came in, and so they were able to gerrymander the state to a way that the congressional seats were drawn, the lines are drawn to the point that only Republicans can get those seats. So on the statewide level, you don't have the level of participation I told you in the politics. You don't have the level of participation that you do in the Northeast because Texas is still a very plentiful state. Now, you are seeing that they're having a harder time now because over 20 years and the matriculation of that, you have that. But you also have these areas too, such as Kerr County, which is extremely Republican. It's a very Republican area. And what that means to me politically means is that they're not going to want to spend any money on any major systems. Okay. And so it's the mindset that happens. They don't have the mindset that they do on the northeastern part of the country, where we have communities, we need to take care of our people, and this, that, and the other. They will talk about church, God, and Christ, and everybody do everything else, guns and whatever. But when it comes down to collectively taking care of the people, they're not going to do it. So a $5 million system in Kerr County to make sure that they have simple sirens that goes out, to make sure that they had a management plan in place to assure that people were able to get out of that. There were so many things that happened with this incident in Kerr County, where Kerrville and Hunt and all of that. But these are all Republican areas, and they didn't want to spend the money. So I wonder what they spent their American Recovery Act funds on, because oftentimes when there are systems and you have the right mindset, you begin to think collectively, what can you do for the people? Like with the city that I used to manage in Maryland, we were like, what can we do for the people? In Republican communities that are ran by like this, like Hanover, Pennsylvania, where I am now, that is now 100% Republican ran government, they're not going to spend the money on on the emergency systems to collectively take care of the people. They put very little money into the citizens of this area, but yet still they want to have your dollars come back. That is what Republicans do. And I will say right now, that is the reason why they had that. So you had three things happen. Number one, the storm came at force. Number two, there were some key critical positions that were missing during the storm with the National Weather Service that could have predicted how much rain was coming and what the flow of rain is. As long as you don't have people in those vacancies, and they have been vacant for a long time.
Right.
Yeah, but there was an additional vacancy that came as a result of him coming. So there was not enough connectivity to the
Right.
National Weather Service to really predict how the storm is going to go. Number two, you didn't have your emergency management system in place, and there was not an emergency management plan to evacuate people in any of these key areas. And you will see this because in Kerr County is very close to, it's not too far away from, it may be a few hours away from Uvalde, but remember the incident
Right.
that happened with the children in the school?
Yes.
Same type of situation occurred there. There was not a management plan to go in into the schools to get them. They ultimately let this guy go in and just, massacre all of these people.
That's right.
Because of the fact they didn't have an emergency management plan. This is what happens consistently when you don't have shifts in government and shifts in plans. People become accustomed to believing that a government is not there to protect them. But as long as you're paying your tax dollars, you need to have the basic systems in place. And for them to not spend $5 million in Kerr County on a system that would have alerted people, they could so many lives. Shame on them.
Yes.
Shame on them.
Absolutely. And I feel sorry for the children. I feel sorry for the children and the loss there. And, regardless of any political persuasion, it is a tragedy. And
It is a tragedy.
and we should not allow officials to get away with such negligence. And I don't know where Ted Cruz is, but I'm sure he's maybe on his way to Bahamas or something while this is all going on.
Someone needs to do a study, and I may do it myself, to look at red states,
Mm-hmm.
look at red states, and look at red areas and see what level of support that they have. And I will guarantee you, when there is a blue area, like a New York City or a Philadelphia, which we'll talk about in a minute,
Right.
this thing here, but that's a whole other system. They're going to have the protections in place because there's a whole philosophy that has not really connected with the Republican Party. And I
Right.
see it in my town as well. Like if there were a tornado today, I don't know if there is a siren here. And I used to be mayor of this town. I don't know if there's a siren that will, warn me. Now, the National Weather Service is usually supposed to send out an alert on the phones. But with flooding that's rising to that level there, we do it. I'm from Oklahoma, Tulsa.
Mhm.
And I'm from Oklahoma, so they have sirens because it's Tornado Alley. So you will hear sirens, and I hear them like every Memorial Dam up there. It's typically is something going on around the area. But you do have those. Those are very, just like you said, Darryl, those are very basic services that you don't just wait for something to happen. You do something just in case something does happen. And it's very tragic for the children. And I will tell you about Camp Mystic. I have a girlfriend who is from Kerrville, and she knew the owners of Camp Mystic. And this is a camp that is for very rich, affluent people to go to, like George Bush's daughters went to camp, and their children
Right.
go to this camp. And I believe someone told me that Ted Cruz's kids were there just a couple of weeks ago. So it's extremely affluent camp. So you have people that are very affluent and probably mostly Republicans that are sending their children here. And so they send them
Yeah.
there under the illusion that they have safety and everything. But every single one of those kids that died come from very affluent households. So I'm wondering what will happen as a result of this. Are we going to go back and say, well, this was God's will and our children are gone? Are we going to really look at this? But it's 162 people that are still missing in those floods. And shame on that government.
Right. And it's
in place. That could have
it's very sad.
It would have been worth it.
Yeah, this is very saddening, and I think that we're going to have to get to a point where, people find a MAGA friend and shake them loose and tell them, look, you're going to have to come out of this hypnosis, this hypnosis to think that you are somehow better off with people who are busy creating these arguments and then force you to voting loyally
and vote against your own best
just because someone is a Democrat or someone is a this or is a that. I think we need to rethink that.
You need to have balanced government. You need to have both people on both sides there. But somebody needs to be able to talk sense to the other. But when you have these pulls, where you have people that are in these group think tanks, where it becomes group think and everybody just do stuff to get along and it harms the government. And we live in Pennsylvania, and we see that happen all the time. I will say that same incident could potentially happen in York County, because I've looked at their county government, and that's why I'm going to that meeting tomorrow. They do not have the provisions to support any type of huge hazardous disaster in York County. I will say it right now.
Yeah, and shake it up when you go there too, because
I'm going to be shaking it up because I'm mad about Texas. I am mad about Texas.
Absolutely.
But listen, did you hear the governor? I saw on MSNBC last night and CNN that the first thing the governor said from his wheelchair was, "We will spend," I think he said, $5 million to implement a new warning system.
Well, it sounds like the $5 million Myneca said that was already there to be spent.
Exactly.
It was already there to be spent, and
so that's that. There's that political spin going on.
Exactly.
Well, see, the reason why is because now it's going to be some calamity because of the people that were killed.
And said it, Myneca, because of the affluent families. Now do something because all these affluent families. All the videos I've seen have been people, of status and class and all that stuff, talking about they've lost their children and the camp counselors and all the other people. But now all of a sudden they're ready to spend the money. But that just shows you the hypocrisy of our governments.
And even the infrastructure with ERCOT, Texas ERCOT, I don't know if they've ever even done anything about it because the guy resigned, but they just put someone else in the place, and you haven't seen any remedies that are going on with that. When I worked there, I was like a worker. I wasn't like on the commission side making major decisions. I just handled the investigations for the utilities, but I'm very familiar, with the people that are running it. I'll have to defer to some of my friends that I know are still in the regulatory industry to see if they've even connected to like California, because if they had connected California or Washington or even Canada, we would have not lost the power in Texas.
Right.
You always think it's going to be there, but they didn't have the infrastructure in place and they didn't spend the money.
Yeah. Bishop?
This is, to me, it's a continuation of the true face being blatantly shown. Let's go back just a few months ago. There were devastating fires in California. Just go back a few weeks ago. There's major turmoil in California because of ice. And such. Now let's go, and now we have flooding in in Texas. You have houses being washed away. And again, you have to look at not too long ago. Let's look at the devastation that happened in Asheville, North Carolina. And so these
Same,
things are
same thing.
these
Exactly.
things when they occur and the government does not step in and help, there's a problem. Now, there was another incident not too long ago, and the current president said that, you know, that governor hasn't asked for any help. Well, I'm going to tell you what, right here in Kentucky, um, there have been devastating rains. There
Kentucky with a
have been
Democratic
tornadoes.
governor in a red state, a
We
popular
have a
Democrat.
Democratic governor in a red state, yes.
Yeah, the
Okay,
popular
and
Democratic governor. Yeah.
and so the deal is um, that the governor called a state of emergency just a few weeks ago, and the government, the federal government said it's not going to help.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so that's okay. You know, but I am going to say this. Let's go back to
It's
the
your time.
scripture. What does it? Does everybody remember Babylon?
Oh yeah.
Right. Right.
Mede, Persia, Chaldees. Do we remember that? And the whole thing is, if you didn't take care of your people, and that included your slaves,
Including
properly,
slaves. Yes. Yes.
you would be cut down.
Mm-hmm.
And damn it, that's just what's about to happen here.
Exactly.
And if we're not paying attention to the hand of God moving, we are gravely mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
Now, any government that doesn't help its people is not a government. It does not have the people in its heart. Therefore, it is there for a different reason. And that reason is usually financial.
Right.
When you don't care about your own constituents and you only make a speech when something tragic happens after the fact, that's showing me where your heart actually is. That's showing me where your mind actually is. And for Sister Myneca to say that they already had the money
Get the money.
to put this thing, this early warning system in place, and they failed to do it. That is indicative of a government that does not care.
Knowing the land and its potential of devastation, and the way it has done in maybe times gone by past, but
Not that long
if
ago.
it happened before, it's going to happen again.
So it happened in 1978 and it happened in 1987. So these are not recent occurrences. I mean, I'm sorry, they are recent occurrences.
Mm-hmm.
So they did know. That's the reason why since 2017, they have been trying to get this system into place and they've never done it. But we've had a pandemic since then. I've observed how Pennsylvania has used their American Recovery Act money, and I've observed how Maryland has used their money.
Exactly.
And they have definitely used, Maryland has definitely used their money in a way that really benefited the people directly,
Right.
where it came to their emergency management systems, where it came to actually helping people with food recovery, helping them with their homes so they can maintain the value on their homes with small repairs. It's just a whole different mindset when you're doing it versus Hanover. I haven't seen them. I don't know what they use their money for. I think they did some repairs on their water treatment center, but I've seen them do absolutely nothing. They may have used some of their funds to build the new city hall, but I'm going to find out. That's why I'm going to start getting more involved in the politics like I used to find out where the money is going, because they have this complete 100% red mentality that they don't want to spend money. I mean, they were in a ragged building that was falling
Well,
down. So
they don't believe in big government. Remember, they and they don't believe, and he said the states can manage this, knowing that the states don't have the
well, stop
amount
taking
of
my. If you don't want big government, stop taking my big money.
That's the point.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
and someone suggested, well, maybe New York and California, Maryland, the richer states need to stop giving so much money to help subsidize the poor states, the red states, the ones that are talking bad about them, and those are the welfare states.
Oh,
Those states are
exactly. I'm going to put your county on notice because
yeah,
I just got my tax bill for $4,000 for taxes for my school taxes in a system that has 900 students in it. In
Wow.
the school
right.
system that has 900 students.
Mhm.
Whew, yeah, and you know what? And just to give y'all context, because
No, notice. I'm being
Myneca and I live in the same. We actually live in the same county,
yes, we
and the schools, some of the schools are like college campuses almost, and but the taxes are really disproportionate
Right.
to
Okay.
to what they're getting and
Good.
to what is really needed. And uh, we live in a red county, so it is. It,
100% red. We don't have
yes.
a Democrat
Wow.
anywhere in any type of county government. We
Mm.
have one Democrat that sits on the board here on the borough council. One,
Hmm.
and so when I say red, I'm talking about 100% red. So when I see what happened in Kerr County, and I know in Kerr County they have a very similar type of system where there's a total imbalance of people that are on there. You have people that are going to go groupthink. They're getting their brothers and sisters and cousins and neighbors to run, just like they
Ah,
had
ah,
someone run for mayor against me, a house, a housewife to run against me because they didn't want me to run, but that's a whole other issue.
right.
Hmm.
But I will guarantee you, had they had someone of intelligence up there and had some balanced government, somebody that could really negotiate, it would be a totally different thing. But they're putting people in office that don't have the herewithal to,
Right.
to make a decision on behalf of the people.
Uh,
Let me bring Reggie in for a quick one. I want to hasten us.
Sorry.
Bishop's going to go in a couple seconds, so I want to make sure we get
I,
this.
so, ditto on everything everybody has said, because, like I said, I was really waiting to hear Myneca, express it, because she was directly involved in government. And I'm with you. I mean, because, like I said, what has happened in Texas, knowing that they had the money, and once again, like it just shows you white supremacy rears its head, because they don't care about no one until they come to their front door. Now that
Well, one thing about white supremacy is white supremacy will do in white supremacy also.
exactly, exactly. So that's
White supremacy does in whites.
right,
Oh, that's right.
exactly.
That's
Mhm.
right.
And so that's another handiwork of God bringing it back to their own front door. And I'm taking much pleasure not in people suffering and dying, but in much pleasure seeing how inept they have been as far as the ones who are in charge and the ones who are in charge of the storehouse and the funding and things like that. So I can't wait to see what happens. Because like Myneca said, this is not the first time. It has happened quite a few times,
Mhm.
most recently, like I said, 78, 87. But let's see what they do now. Yeah, because I believe what he said last night was really just for the photo op, saying the right thing. So we'll see what happens. And I believe those families who've lost their loved ones, They are now going to put their resources and time, not just money, but their efforts into getting the system because they see it is taken from them now. As long as it was everybody else's children, and it's just ironic. This is the camp that was impacted when you have so many other places in Texas that has not even been scathed or touched.
So before we close out, we want to jump on the Philadelphia
Right.
trash thing. Bishop, I know you got to go, but I want you to just jump in some thoughts here very quickly. The Philadelphia trash strike is over. To my hometown folk over there in Philly,
You.
in the Illy, we I got family in Philadelphia. I got a part of my family, a side of my dad's side, is from Philadelphia, so I know Philly real good. A lot. I am a Sixers fan all the way.
All right.
Shout out to Dr. J. But they had an 8-day strike, and Lord, they were cussing in the streets. Everybody, oh boy, they was turning up, y'all.
Absolutely.
And one of my daughters, one of her closest friends is in Philadelphia. They talk all the time. They had their trash needing to be picked up on pallets, on forklifts. And boy, I saw a couple of videos.
Yeah.
And when I tell you the people had something to say, oh, they had a lot to say. So the question is, what's going on with government these days, y'all? Bishop, I'm gonna bring you in first. What's going on with government? Does government have to be reimagined, or do we need to just get back to basics?
Government without humanity is not government. When your government is more concerned about the bottom line and making that figure a reality, and your humanity is gone, meaning your compassion for others is gone, your empathy for others is gone, your servitude for and to others is gone, then you have become an entity that is contradictory to true humanity. Here we are, needing basic services, of which now watch this. Here's the thing: the government said, "Oh, we're going to do these things. You're going to pay, these little taxes, and we'll take care of all of this." And time again, we find that our little tax dollars don't get us the services that we are due. That is because humanity has been lost in the government's landscape. And I'll just leave it at that.
Right.
Yeah. Government is I never liked the idea, and I am a business person. I never liked the idea of business people with their business mindset running government because
running our government.
The goal of business is self. Just understand that the goal of business is self.
They're enriching themselves.
Right. I'm a capitalist. I admit to it. Okay. Guilty as charged. In my business, my job is to work in my own profitable interests.
Exactly.
But I also have a ministry side of my life. That ministry side, I work in the interests of others. And there's a difference. And if you have a pure businessman running government, you get what you got now. You get what you got now. And things become very skewed because government should not be about the bottom line. Government should be about the end goal of people's lives being better, people being protected. Government's job is to protect the people and to look out for their well-being. Yeah, that's what I heard, guys. Is that supposed to be what government's for? but they didn't want to pay the guys. Pay those guys. They out there on them hot garbage trucks in the summer, and they had to show y'all a little something when July came around.
let me tell you.
Thank God it wasn't August.
What do you say?
It's hot as
August in Philly. August in Philly is hot.
Ooh, that's some stinky stuff, man.
Woo!
Yeah.
Talk about garbage.
Yeah.
But the important thing about local government is that people don't know behind the scenes. Before we go there, let me go back to something I saw in Texas that I observed, and I noticed that they put the city manager on the press conference. That rarely happens.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mayor is the spokesperson during the emergency of the area, or the county commissioner, whoever the chair is of the commission. They are the leader of these things.
That was the meat shield. He was the meat shield.
Yeah, that was like, we're going to go to the city manager. See, the city manager doesn't approve the budget. The county commissioners approve the budget, or the mayor approves the budget. So I'm assuming there's a mayor if there's a city councilor, city manager. The city manager never does that. They did that because they wanted to make sure to maintain whoever they have on the city council. And they don't want them at the front line of all of this. But I say that to believe that the city manager should not have been the spokesperson on behalf of the emergency management of that particular flood situation in Kerrville, because I believe he's city manager, Kerrville or Hunt or wherever. I don't know where he's from, but it hit a whole county area. It wasn't just that. That's just the bigger city. So he can only speak from the perspective of his nucleus. And he can only speak about, but he cannot speak about why this proposal was brought to the council or to the municipality or to the county, wherever it is. He cannot speak as to why they didn't pass the budget. But they didn't want to put their officials up there because they know when that election comes around, it's going to be dead starting.
Yes.
But you know, that's not going to work. That's not going to work because we know who you are. I mean, we're at the point. The people know. I like what my former vice president of my company used to say. He's an old seasoned vet, and you know what he said? We always want to know the throat to choke. Okay, and they knew that they know just because they're putting this guy up as, like I said, as a meat shield.
Yeah.
To think that this is going to soften their political blow.
Right.
I don't think that's possible. Now, my concern about Texas, you really need to break that fever. You might need to take a couple Motrin, some NyQuil or whatever, get a little meditation and break the MAGA spell. And this is not to bash MAGA, okay? All right. This is not what I'm doing. The proof is in the pudding, guys. You see what's happening in your area. You see what's happening to your communities. You saw people die during COVID because the mask was too hot, but yet the mask ain't too hot when you up there catching people on the streets and putting them in detainment camps. Exactly. So let's take a minute. And let's take a minute and check in with reality, okay? And government, if it's not taking care of you, like Bishop said, it's not government.
It's an autocratic way to spend somebody else's public fund to enrich yourself.
I don't want to hear y'all talk about another preacher ever again because these politicians got the preachers beat because
they got the preachers beat big time.
Because that money is mandated payment. That money you have to pay that money. I mean, with the preacher, he at least gotta butter it out of your pockets. But with government, they send you a bill or else. I mean, so come on, guys.
Y'all ain't got nothing on them.
I'm just saying.
Very limited. Remember, every single.
Close the door.
Shut the door.
Wait a minute, what'd you say? I think I heard it.
He said, close the door. Man, I'm sure. I mean, you get a bill. Let's break it down real quick, and then we go close.
Yeah. Okay.
You get a. My wife and I were out just yesterday, and I didn't know they were doing this. Now we went to have dinner, and we went to park in the garage, which is it used to be free after 6 p.m. Now it's free after 8 p.m. Who knew this? Because they scratched it off of all the signs where we were, and then when I'm driving in there, I'm noticing cars have boots on them. Now you don't get a ticket if you're late coming to your car. It's booted, and you have to make a phone call to this number. Pay over the phone for the guy to come and take the boot off your car. We sat in the window of the restaurant to look so that we could watch across the street how many people needed to get boots off of their cars. And the guy just kept coming back around, taking the boots off of people's cars. And all of these were mostly couples, just like me and her, just trying to have at least an hour of dinner or whatever. And then you got to come out there and your car's on a big orange boot, and everybody across the street has to look at you get your boot off. That's government right now, guys. I mean, what happened to the ticket? And if you don't pay the ticket after 30 days, you get a nasty gram. We don't get that now. We go straight to booting people.
Wow.
So that's going to be problematic, just depending on where that is, if they continue that practice.
That's a public garage they're doing that with. They're doing it with a public garage. So that was owned by the city. That's a garage that the city managed. And they hired a private contractor to boot the cars now. So I guess they got their little dirty game going on there. Their little, you know.
And they're running tags.
Yep. So this I mean, you know, and I think we can change. We need this to change. I'm gonna close this out so we all close out together. Bishop's got to go. We've been on here for a while today, but we're gonna come back on this one.
We gotta come back on it because
everybody we're gonna talk about this one, because what is happening in the fundamental of our society is what's at question. That our fundamental base of existing and operating is it. And I'm going to definitely take that. If government is not serving the people, it's not government.
Amen.
Right? And that not in America. And so that is definitely it. So shout out to the sanitation workers and you had to stink it up, but you did get it. You did get what you needed to have, because Lord knows if I got to pick up some of y'all trash, y'all better be paying me top dollar. All right. Because some of the stuff y'all got in them bags is just utterly ungodly. So, you know.
If you know anything about waste management, I used to manage a town where we did waste management. And let me tell you, you leave somebody's trash or forget to pick it up, you're going to get calls. I can't even imagine the calls that were coming in to
Lord. And a coastal city, which coastal cities have rats. Just remember that, everybody. If you're on a coastal city, you just got to remember rats love the water. And if it's anywhere from DC to Boston, you're going to have a rat problem. All right.
They have a real struggle cleaning the city. And, there is a whole culture around throwing trash away, and the culture America hasn't really adapted like Japan has. Like in Japan, you cannot, it's impolite to eat on the street. It's impolite. You don't throw trash. You take a bag with you and you
Right.
take your trash home with you.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
that's something that America probably needs to adapt. That would help a
Yeah.
lot.
Absolutely.
Well, everybody, we're gonna close out here. I want to thank our dream team as usual. Great session, guys. Everybody, make sure you like, share, and subscribe to all of our channels here on Believe Broadcasting, and tell someone about the What Now podcast as we're tackling these issues. Everybody, make sure you keep your head up and make sure you stay engaged, because we're definitely going to see something good happen.
Absolutely.
You all, God bless. Take care.
God bless. Take care, everyone. Love you
Bye,
guys. Take care.
Blessings.